William Carter sat quietly in the corner booth of a small diner on the outskirts of Chicago. It was late, and the place was nearly empty except for a few scattered customers nursing their coffees. He had chosen this spot because it was far from the glitz and glamour of downtown, the kind of place where no one would recognize him or bother him. For once, he wanted to be just another face in the crowd. The diner wasn't fancy, but it had character. The walls were lined with faded posters, advertising old movies, and the smell of fried food lingered in the air. William sipped his coffee slowly, enjoying the quiet solitude. His expensive watch gleamed under the soft light above the table, a subtle reminder of the wealth that set him apart from most people. But tonight, he didn't feel like a billionaire. He felt tired of meetings, phone calls, and endless negotiations. All he wanted was a moment of peace. As he reached for his wallet to pay the bill, the door swung open violently, startling everyone inside. Two men walked in quickly, their faces covered by black masks. One held what looked like a handgun, while the other scanned the room nervously. The atmosphere shifted instantly. The low hum of conversation died down, replaced by tense silence. Every eye in the room turned to the intruders. "Nobody move," the man with the gun barked, his voice sharp and commanding. "This will only take a minute." William froze, his fingers still resting on his wallet. His heart pounded in his chest as adrenaline surged through him. He wasn't used to feeling powerless. In his world, he always had control, over deals, over people, over outcomes. But now, sitting in this tiny diner, he realized how vulnerable he truly was. These men weren't interested in negotiation or compromise. They wanted what they could get, and they wouldn't hesitate to take it. The second robber approached William's table, his movements hurried, yet deliberate. "Give me your wallet," he demanded, holding out his gloved hand. "And don't try anything stupid." For a split second, William considered resisting. Maybe if he acted fast enough, he could overpower them. But then he saw the desperation in the robber's eyes, the way his hands trembled slightly despite his bravado. These weren't professionals. They were amateurs driven by need, or maybe fear. That realization made William pause. Instead of fighting back, he slid his wallet across the table without a word. "That watch too," the man added, nodding toward William's wrist. Reluctantly, William unfastened the expensive timepiece and handed it over. As the robber snatched it away, William felt a pang of frustration. Not because of the loss itself, but because of the violation. This wasn't about money. It was about dignity. Just as the robbers turned to leave, the first man suddenly swung around and struck William hard across the face with the butt of his gun. The blow sent him sprawling onto the floor, pain exploding in his cheekbone. Stars danced in his vision as he struggled to sit up, clutching his jaw. The last thing he heard before the door slammed shut was the sound of screeching tires outside. In the stunned silence that followed, a young woman rushed to his side. She knelt beside him, her apron streaked with flour from the kitchen. Her name tag read Lily. "Are you okay?" she asked urgently, her voice filled with genuine concern. "Let me help you." William nodded weakly, though every movement sent waves of pain through his body. Lily helped him back into the booth, her hands steady despite the chaos. She grabbed a napkin and pressed it gently against the cut on his cheek, trying to stop the bleeding. "You should call the police," she said firmly, reaching for her phone. "No," William replied, wincing as he spoke. "It's fine. Just let it go." Lily frowned, clearly unconvinced. "But they took your wallet and your watch. You can't just let them get away with it." "It's just stuff," William muttered, waving her off. "I'll deal with it later." Despite his dismissive tone, Lily didn't leave. She stayed by his side, making sure he was all right. When the manager came over to check on the situation, she insisted that William stay seated until he felt better. Eventually, she even paid for his meal, refusing to accept any argument from him. "I can't let you walk out of here without doing something," she said with a small smile. "You've had a rough night." William looked at her, really looked at her, for the first time. There was kindness in her eyes, a sincerity that he hadn't encountered in years. Most people who met him either fawned over his wealth or tried to use him for their own gain. But Lily, she didn't seem to care who he was. To her, he was just a man who needed help. Before leaving, William pulled a business card from his coat pocket. It was one of the few things the robbers hadn't taken. He scribbled his private number on the back and handed it to her. "If you ever need anything," he said softly, "don't hesitate to call." Lily accepted the card with a puzzled expression, unsure whether to believe him. Still, she tucked it into her apron pocket and thanked him. As William limped out of the diner, he couldn't shake the feeling that this encounter was more significant than it seemed. Little did he know, his life, and hers, was about to change in ways neither of them could have predicted. The days following the robbery passed quickly for Lily Harper, though the memory of that strange night lingered in her mind. She couldn't stop thinking about the man she'd helped, the one who had been so calm despite everything. Most people would have panicked or demanded immediate action, but not him. He'd brushed off the incident like it was nothing more than an inconvenience. And then there was the business card he'd given her. It sat on her kitchen counter untouched, taunting her with its possibilities. Lily wasn't naive. She knew rich people didn't usually offer their private numbers to strangers unless they wanted something. Maybe he felt guilty. Or maybe he was just being polite. Whatever the reason, she hesitated to call. What could she possibly say? "Hi, I'm the waitress who saw you get robbed?" It sounded ridiculous even in her head. Still, curiosity gnawed at her. Who was this man, really, and why did he seem so different from anyone else she'd ever met? Finally, after a week of debating with herself, Lily picked up the card and dialed the number. Her hands shook slightly as the phone rang, and she almost hung up when a deep voice answered on the third ring. "Hello?" the voice said, calm and confident. Hi?" Lily stammered, suddenly feeling foolish. "This is Lily Harper. You gave me your card at the diner last week." There was a brief pause before the man replied. "Lily? Of course I remember. How are you doing?" His tone was warm, almost friendly, which caught her off guard. "I'm fine, thanks," she said, fumbling for words. I wanted to check if everything was okay with you. After what happened, I mean." "I appreciate that," he said sincerely. "To be honest, I've been meaning to reach out. To you too. Do you think we could meet sometime? There's something I'd like to discuss." Lily blinked in surprise. "Sure, I guess. When did you have in mind?" "How about tomorrow afternoon? My office downtown. I'll text you the address." Before she could respond, he added, "And don't worry, it's nothing bad, just trust me." Lily agreed reluctantly, still unsure what to expect. The next day, she found herself standing outside a towering skyscraper in the heart of Chicago. The building screamed wealth and power, and she felt completely out of place in her simple blouse and jeans. Taking a deep breath, she stepped inside and made her way to the top floor. When she entered the office, William Carter was waiting for her. His injury had healed somewhat, though a faint bruise remained on his cheek. He greeted her with a smile and motioned for her to sit down. "Thank you for coming," he began, leaning forward slightly. "I wanted to thank you again for helping me that night. Not many people would have done what you did." "It was nothing," Lily replied modestly, shifting uncomfortably in her seat. "Anyone would have done the same." "No," William said firmly. "Not everyone. That's why I wanted to see you. To talk about something important." He paused, studying her reaction carefully. "You may not know this, but I own a tech company. We're doing pretty well, but lately, I've realized I need someone I can trust around me. Someone who isn't motivated by greed or ambition. Someone like you." Lily stared at him, stunned. "Wait, are you offering me a job?" "Yes," William nodded. "As my personal assistant. I understand it's a big change, but I think you'd be great at it. You're smart, resourceful, and kind, all qualities I value highly. But I don't know anything about tech companies," Lily protested, shaking her head. "I'm just a waitress." "That's exactly my point," William countered. "You're not jaded by corporate politics. You see things clearly. Besides, I'll teach you everything you need to know. All I ask is that you give it a try." Lily hesitated, torn between excitement and doubt. On one hand, this was an incredible opportunity, a chance to escape the endless grind of minimum wage jobs. On the other hand, she worried she wouldn't measure up. What if she failed? What if she disappointed him? Seeing her uncertainty, William softened his tone. "Look, I'm not asking you to decide right now. Take some time to think about it. But I promise you, Lily, this isn't charity. It's an investment in both of us." That night, as Lily lay awake in bed, she replayed their conversation over and over in her mind. Was it crazy to accept such an offer? Probably, but deep down, she knew she couldn't pass it up. For once, life was handing her a chance to do something meaningful, and she wasn't going to let fear hold her back. The next morning, she called William and accepted the job. Lily's first day at William Carter's company was overwhelming, to say the least. She arrived early, dressed in the nicest outfit she owned, a plain navy blue dress, and nervously made her way to the top floor of the skyscraper. The receptionist greeted her warmly and led her to William's office, where he was already waiting. "Good morning, Lily," he said with a smile, standing up to shake her hand. "Ready to dive in?" "I think so," she replied, though her voice betrayed her nerves. "But I should warn you, I might need a lot of help." William chuckled. "Don't worry, everyone starts somewhere. Besides, you'll catch on faster than you think." He spent the next hour showing her around the office, introducing her to key members of his team. Most of them were polite, though Lily couldn't help noticing the curious glances they gave her. It was obvious she didn't fit in with their polished appearances and confident demeanors. Still, she tried to stay positive, reminding herself that this was just the beginning. By mid-morning, William handed her a stack of files. "These are some basic tasks to get you started," he explained. "Nothing too complicated, just organizing documents and setting up meetings. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask." As the day went on, Lily quickly realized how different this world was from the diner. Everything moved at lightning speed. Phones ringing constantly, emails flooding in, people rushing back and forth. At first, she felt like she was drowning. But slowly, she began to find her rhythm. William checked in on her frequently, offering guidance without making her feel incompetent. One afternoon, while sorting through a pile of contracts, Lily stumbled upon something unusual. One of the documents mentioned a series of unauthorized transactions, large sums of money being transferred out of the company's accounts. Confused, she brought it to William's attention. "Are these mistakes?" she asked hesitantly, pointing to the numbers. "Or is someone stealing?" William frowned as he examined the document. "This isn't right," he muttered under his breath. "I'll look into it." Later that evening, after everyone else had left the office, William sat alone at his desk, deep in thought. He trusted Lily's instincts. She wasn't the type to jump to conclusions. But if what she'd found was true, it meant someone within the company was betraying him. The idea angered him, not just because of the money, but because of the breach of trust. Over the next few days, Lily continued to assist William, proving herself invaluable. She had a knack for spotting details others overlooked, and her straightforward approach cut through the usual corporate jargon. As they worked together, William began opening up to her in ways he never had with anyone else. He told her about his childhood, how he'd grown up poor, working odd jobs to support his family. "I built this company from nothing," he admitted. One evening as they reviewed reports. "Every dollar, every deal, it all came from hard work. That's why betrayal hit so hard. It makes me question everything." Lily listened quietly, sensing the weight of his words. "Not everyone is like that," she said gently. "You've got good people around you. You just need to figure out who to trust." Her comment stayed with him long after she left for the day. For years, William had surrounded himself with advisors and executives who claimed to have his best interests at heart. Yet, when push came to shove, most of them disappeared, or worse, turned against him. Lily, on the other hand, had no reason to be loyal to him. She barely knew him, and yet she'd gone above and beyond to help him. not just with work but with personal matters too. One evening, as they wrapped up another long day, William decided to test her loyalty further. "Lily," he said casually, "if you ever notice someone doing something unethical, would you tell me?" She looked up, surprised by the question. "Of course," she replied without hesitation. "Why wouldn't I?" "It's not always easy to speak up," he pointed out, "especially when it involves powerful people." "Well, keeping quiet doesn't make things better," she countered. "If anything, it makes them worse." William nodded, impressed by her conviction. That's exactly what I needed to hear. Unbeknownst to Lily, her response solidified his decision to bring her even deeper into his inner circle. Over time, he started involving her in high-level discussions, seeking her input on critical decisions. To his surprise, she handled the responsibility with ease, offering fresh perspectives that often caught him off guard. Despite her growing confidence, Lily remained humble. She never forgot where she came from or took her new position for granted. Instead, she used it as motivation to prove herself, to show William that he hadn't made a mistake by believing in her. As weeks turned into months, their partnership blossomed. William found himself relying on her more and more, not just professionally but personally. For the first time in years, he felt like he wasn't alone, that there was someone in his life who truly cared about him, flaws and all. Little did either of them know, however, that danger still lurked in the shadows. Someone close to William had been watching Lily closely, suspicious of her sudden rise within the company. And soon, their presence would threaten everything they'd worked so hard to build. As weeks passed, Lily began to notice subtle changes in William's behavior. He seemed more cautious than usual, often glancing over his shoulder or double-checking who was in the room before discussing sensitive topics. At first, she thought it was just stress from work. After all, running a multi-billion-dollar company wasn't easy. But soon she realized something deeper was troubling him. One evening, after most of the staff had gone home, William called her into his office. His expression was grim as he closed the door behind her. "I need to talk to you about something important," he said, motioning for her to sit down. "It's about those transactions you found." Lily leaned forward, concern etched on her face. "Did you figure out what's going on?" William nodded slowly. "Yes, and it's worse than I thought. Someone inside the company has been siphoning money, not just small amounts, but millions, and they've covered their tracks well." "Do you know who it is?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. He hesitated, then shook his head. "Not yet, but whoever it is, they've been watching us closely. Watching you, specifically." Lily's heart skipped a beat. "Me? Why would anyone care about me?" "Because you're new here," William explained. "And because you're close to me now. They might think you know more than you do, or that you're a threat." The weight of his words sank in, sending a chill down her spine. Until now, she'd felt safe in her role, proud even of how far she'd come. But this revelation made her feel exposed, vulnerable. She hadn't signed up for danger when she accepted the job. "What should we do?" she asked, trying to keep her voice steady. "For now, stay alert," William advised. "Be careful about who you trust and where you go, especially alone. I'll handle the rest." Despite his reassurances, Lily couldn't shake the feeling that trouble was looming. Over the next few days, she became hyper-aware of her surroundings. Every glance from a co-worker, every unfamiliar car parked outside her apartment, it all felt suspicious. She hated living like this, constantly on edge, but she knew better than to ignore William's warning. Then, one night, her fears came true. Lily had stayed late at the office finishing up some paperwork. As she walked to her car in the nearly empty parking garage, she noticed a faint sound echoing off the walls. Footsteps. Her pulse quickened as she turned around, scanning the shadows for movement. That's when she saw them. Two figures lurking behind a pillar, their faces obscured by hoods. Her instincts screamed at her to run, but she forced herself to stay calm. Reaching into her bag, she gripped her keys tightly, ready to use them as a weapon if necessary. Slowly, she backed toward her car, keeping her eyes fixed on the strangers. "Who's there?" she called out, her voice trembling slightly. "What do you want?" One of the figures stepped forward, revealing a man with cold, calculating eyes. "We just want to ask you a few questions," he said smoothly. "About Mr. Carter." Lily's stomach churned. "I don't know anything," she lied, fumbling with her car keys. "Leave me alone." The second figure emerged, blocking her path. "Don't play dumb," he growled. "You've been spending a lot of time with him lately. We know you're hiding something." Panic surged through her, but she refused to let it paralyze her. Remembering self-defense techniques she'd learned years ago, she swung her keys at the nearest attacker, catching him off guard. He stumbled back with a grunt, giving her enough time to dart past him. She ran as fast as she could, her heels clicking loudly against the concrete floor. Behind her, the men shouted and gave chase. Her car was only a few yards away, but it felt like miles. Just as she reached the driver's side door, another figure appeared out of nowhere, grabbing her arm roughly. "Let go," she screamed, struggling to break free. Suddenly, headlights illuminated the scene. A sleek black SUV screeched to a halt nearby, its engine roaring. The attackers froze, momentarily distracted. Seizing the opportunity, Lily wrenched herself free and dove into her car, locking the doors just in time. The SUV's door opened and William stepped out, his face a mask of fury. "Get away from her!" he barked, advancing toward the men. Caught off guard, the attackers hesitated before retreating into the shadows, disappearing as quickly as they had come. Shaking with adrenaline, Lily unlocked her car door and stumbled out, tears streaming down her face. "Are you okay?" William asked urgently. The next morning, Lily woke up to the soft hum of voices coming from the living room. She had spent an uneasy night on the couch in William's penthouse, her mind replaying the events of the previous evening over and over again. Every shadow seemed darker, every sound louder. Even though she was safe now, or as safe as she could be, she couldn't shake the feeling that danger wasn't far behind. William was already awake, dressed in a crisp suit and pacing by the window. He was on the phone, his tone sharp and commanding. From what Lily could gather, he was speaking to someone about security measures and background checks. When he noticed her stirring, he ended the call quickly and walked over to her. "How are you feeling?" he asked gently, sitting down beside her. "Better," she replied, though her voice betrayed her lingering anxiety. "But I keep thinking about those men. Who were they? And why would they want to hurt me?" William sighed, running a hand through his hair. "I don't have all the answers yet, but I think it's connected to the money being stolen from the company. Whoever's behind it must see you as a threat, but I haven't done anything," Lily protested, frustration creeping into her voice. "I'm just trying to do my job." "I know," William said softly. "That's what makes this so unfair. You got caught up in something you didn't ask for. But I promise you, I'll make sure nothing happens to you." His words brought her some comfort, but they also reminded her how much bigger this situation was than either of them. For the first time, she truly understood the weight of William's world, the constant pressure, the paranoia, the enemies, hiding in plain sight. It was exhausting, even from the outside looking in. Later that day, William arranged for private security to escort Lily wherever she went. He also hired a team of investigators to dig deeper into the suspicious transactions and identify the person responsible. While Lily appreciated the extra protection, it only reinforced how vulnerable she felt. Everywhere she looked, there were reminders of the danger lurking in the shadows. One afternoon, while waiting for William to finish a meeting, Lily found herself scrolling through old news articles about him online. She discovered stories about his rise to success, interviews where he talked about overcoming poverty, and profiles highlighting his philanthropic efforts. But mixed in with the praise were whispers of betrayal, mentions of former business partners who accused him of cutting ties too quickly, or employees who claimed he valued profits over people. It made her wonder, had William always been this guarded, or had years of mistrust forced him to build walls around himself? Either way, she realized how lonely his life must be. Despite his wealth and power, he had no one he could truly rely on, until now. When William returned, he found her deep in thought. "What's on your mind?" he asked, noticing her distant expression. "I was reading about you," she admitted. "About everything you've been through. It's a lot." He chuckled humorlessly. "You could say that. Most people only see the surface. The fancy cars, the big house, the endless meetings. They don't see the sacrifices, the risks, the betrayals." Lily nodded slowly. "Do you ever regret it? Any of it?" For a moment, William didn't answer. Then he said quietly, "Sometimes. But then I remember why I started. To create something meaningful, to give back. If I can protect what I've built and the people I care about, it's worth it." His gaze lingered on her as he spoke, and Lily felt a pang of guilt. She hadn't asked for any of this, but now she was part of his fight. Whether she liked it or not, her fate was tied to his. Over the next few days, pieces of the puzzle began to fall into place. The investigators uncovered evidence pointing to someone close to William, a name neither of them expected: Daniel Carter, William's estranged younger brother. William's reaction was a mix of anger and disbelief. "Daniel?" he repeated, staring at the report in shock. "Are you sure?" "It looks that way," the lead investigator confirmed. "We traced the unauthorized transfers to accounts linked to him. He's been funneling money out of the company for months." Lily watched as William processed the information, his face a storm of emotions. She knew their relationship was complicated. They rarely spoke, and when they did, it often ended in arguments. Still, learning that his own brother had betrayed him cut deeper than any corporate rivalry ever could. "What do we do now?" Lily asked hesitantly. "We confront him," William said firmly. "But not alone. We'll need proof and backup." That night, as they prepared to meet Daniel, Lily couldn't help but feel a sense of dread. Confronting family was never easy, especially under these circumstances. Whatever happened next, she knew it would change everything. For both of them. The confrontation took place in an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of the city, a neutral location chosen by Daniel. William had insisted on keeping things private, not wanting to involve the police until they understood the full scope of his brother's actions. Lily accompanied him, despite his protests, because she refused to let him face this alone. As they stepped inside, the air felt heavy with tension. Daniel was already there, leaning against a stack of crates, his hands shoved into the pockets of his worn leather jacket. His appearance was a stark contrast to William's polished demeanor: unkempt hair, stubble on his face, and clothes that looked like they hadn't been washed in days. He glanced up as they entered, his expression shifting from boredom to irritation. "What's this about, Will?" Daniel snapped, using the nickname he knew William hated. "You drag me out here in the middle of the night? I've got better things to do." William didn't respond immediately. Instead, he pulled out a folder filled with documents and photos, the evidence the investigators had gathered, and tossed it onto a nearby crate. "Explain this," he said coldly, his voice cutting through the silence. Daniel picked up the folder, flipping through its contents with growing unease. For a moment, he seemed genuinely shocked, but then his features hardened. "So what if it's true?" he shot back, tossing the papers aside. "You think I owe you anything after everything you've done?" Lily watched the exchange nervously, her heart pounding. She could feel the animosity between the two brothers like a physical force, crackling in the air around them. This wasn't just about money. It ran deeper than that. "Is that why you did it?" William asked, his tone icy. "To get back at me?" Daniel laughed bitterly. "Maybe. Or maybe I just needed cash. You wouldn't know anything about needing help, would you? Not anymore. You're too busy living the high life while the rest of us struggle." "That's not fair," William countered, his voice rising slightly. "I worked hard for everything I have, and I offered to help you, more times than I can count. But you always wanted shortcuts, easy answers. And look where that got me." Daniel shouted, stepping closer. "Stuck in your shadow watching you build your empire while I got nothing." For a moment it seemed like the argument might escalate into violence. Lily instinctively moved forward, placing herself between the two men. "Stop it," she said firmly, her voice steady despite her fear. "This isn't solving anything." Both brothers turned to look at her, surprised by her intervention. Taking a deep breath, she continued, "Daniel, I don't know what happened between you two, but this isn't the way to fix it. Hurting people, stealing, isn't going to make things better. It's only making them worse." Daniel stared at her, his anger faltering. For the first time, he seemed unsure of himself. "Who even are you?" he muttered, though his tone lacked its earlier hostility. "She's someone who cares about me," William replied before Lily could answer. "Someone who's been dragged into this mess because of your choices. Is that really what you want? To hurt innocent people just to get back at me?" Daniel hesitated, glancing between William and Lily. The weight of his actions seemed to hit him all at once, and he sank onto a nearby crate, burying his face in his hands. "I didn't mean for anyone else to get involved," he mumbled. I didn't know what else to do." William sighed, running a hand through his hair. As much as he wanted to stay angry, he couldn't ignore the pain in his brother's voice. They had grown apart over the years, but deep down they were still family. "We'll figure something out," William said finally, his tone softer now. "But you need to come clean. No more lies, no more stealing. If you want a second chance, you'll have to earn it." Daniel nodded slowly, looking defeated but also relieved. "Okay," he whispered. "I'll do whatever it takes." Lily exhaled, realizing she'd been holding her breath. The confrontation was far from perfect, but it was a start. Together they left the warehouse, each carrying the burden of unresolved emotions, but also a glimmer of hope. Over the following weeks, William worked tirelessly to repair the damage caused by Daniel's betrayal. He tightened security measures within the company, implemented stricter oversight, and made sure those responsible were held accountable. At the same time, he reached out to Daniel, offering him a position at the company, not out of obligation, but as a genuine attempt to rebuild their relationship. Lily stayed by William's side throughout it all, proving herself to be more than just an assistant. She became his confidant, his anchor in moments of doubt. Through her kindness and determination, she reminded him of the values he'd almost forgotten in his pursuit of success: trust, compassion, and forgiveness. As the dust settled, both William and Lily began to see a future beyond the chaos, one where they could move forward together, stronger. Months after the confrontation with Daniel, life began to settle into a new rhythm for William Carter and Lily Harper. The chaos of betrayal and danger had subsided, replaced by a sense of renewal and purpose. William decided it was time to use his wealth and influence for something greater than himself, a way to give back to the community that had shaped him. The idea came to him one evening while talking to Lily about her childhood. She spoke fondly of the small diner where they had first met, describing how places like that provided not just food, but also a sense of belonging for people struggling to make ends meet. Her words inspired William to create something similar, a space where families could come together, access resources, and build brighter futures. Thus, the Carter Community Center was born. Located in a neighborhood much like the one where William had grown up, the center offered everything from free meals and job training programs to after-school tutoring and recreational activities for kids. It was designed to be a beacon of hope, a place where anyone could find support without judgment. On the day of the grand opening, the streets were alive with excitement. Local residents streamed into the building, their faces lighting up as they explored the various rooms and services available. Children ran around playing games, while parents chatted with volunteers and staff members eager to help. The air buzzed with laughter and anticipation. William stood on a small stage at the front of the main hall, addressing the crowd gathered before him. Beside him, Lily watched proudly, knowing how much work had gone into making this dream a reality. She had played a key role in planning and organizing the event, ensuring every detail reflected William's vision of inclusivity and compassion. "Today marks the beginning of something special," William began, his voice steady and heartfelt. This center isn't just a building, it's a promise. A promise to invest in our community, to lift each other up, and to create opportunities where there once were none. He paused, scanning the sea of faces before continuing. None of this would have been possible without the incredible team behind me, and especially without someone who has become an irreplaceable part of my life. Lily Harper, please join me. Lily stepped forward hesitantly, her cheeks flushing. As the crowd erupted into applause, William placed a hand on her shoulder, smiling warmly. Without her dedication and belief in what we can achieve, this project might never have gotten off the ground. So let's take a moment to thank her and everyone else who worked so hard to bring us here today. As the applause faded, Lily took the microphone, her voice trembling slightly with emotion. Thank you all for being here, she said, looking out at the crowd. This center represents hope, for me, for William, and for everyone in this room. Let's make the most of it, together. After the speeches, the celebration continued with music, food, and tours of the facility. William and Lily wandered through the halls, greeting attendees and answering questions. Everywhere they went, they saw smiles and heard stories of gratitude. For William, it was a reminder of why he had started this journey, to make a difference, no matter how big or small. Later that evening, as the festivities wound down, William and Lily found themselves alone on the rooftop terrace overlooking the city. Fireworks lit up the night sky, painting the horizon with bursts of color. They stood side by side, reflecting on everything they had been through, and everything still ahead. You know, William said quietly, breaking the comfortable silence. I never thought I'd say this, but I'm glad those robbers chose that diner that night. Lily chuckled softly. Me too. If it hadn't happened, I wouldn't be standing here with you right now. William turned to look at her, his expression thoughtful. You've changed my life, Lily, in ways I didn't think were possible. Thank you for everything. She smiled, meeting his gaze. You've changed mine too, William. More than you'll ever know. As the fireworks continued to explode overhead, casting shimmering reflections in their eyes, both knew this was only the beginning. Together they had faced challenges, overcome obstacles, and emerged stronger than ever. And as long as they stood side by side, there was nothing they couldn't accomplish. The success of the Carter Community Center became a turning point not just for William Carter and Lily Harper, but for the entire neighborhood. What had started as an idea born out of gratitude and reflection quickly grew into something far greater, a symbol of resilience, unity, and hope. Families who once struggled to put food on the table now found jobs through the center's training programs. Children who lacked safe places to play discovered a welcoming environment filled with opportunities to learn and grow. And volunteers from all walks of life came together to support the mission, creating bonds that transcended age, race, and background. For William, the center represented more than just charity. It was redemption. It reminded him of where he came from and how far he had come. He often spent evenings walking through its halls, listening to stories of transformation and watching lives change before his eyes. Each success story reinforced his belief that wealth wasn't meant to be hoarded. It was meant to be shared. Lily, too, found purpose in her new role. Though she still served as William's assistant, much of her time was dedicated to managing the center's day-to-day operations. Her natural leadership skills shone brightly as she coordinated events, mentored staff, and connected with community members. People admired her warmth and determination, qualities that made her a beloved figure in the neighborhood. But perhaps the most profound impact was felt in their relationship. Over time, William and Lily grew closer, their bond deepening with every challenge they faced and every victory they celebrated. They weren't just employer and employee, they were partners in every sense of the word. Their mutual respect and trust created a foundation stronger than either of them could have imagined. One evening, several months after the grand opening, William invited Lily to join him on the rooftop terrace of his penthouse. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of gold and crimson. Fairy lights twinkled above them, and the distant hum of the city provided a soothing backdrop. I've been thinking, William began, his voice soft but steady. About everything we've built together. This center, it's proof that one act of kindness can spark a chain reaction. You saved me that night at the diner and look where we are now. Lily smiled, leaning back against the railing. It's hard to believe how much has changed since then. Sometimes I wonder if I'm dreaming. You're not, William replied, his tone serious yet gentle. And none of this would have happened without you. You've taught me things I didn't think I needed to learn. About trust, humility, and what really matters in life. He paused, taking a step closer to her. Which is why I need to ask you something important. Lily, will you stay by my side? Not just as my assistant, but as my partner. In work, in life, in everything? Lily's breath caught in her throat. She hadn't expected this moment, though looking back, she realized it had been building for a long time. William, she started, her voice trembling slightly. Are you sure? We're so different. I'm not like the people in your world. That's exactly why I want you, he said firmly. You remind me of who I used to be and who I want to be again. With you I feel whole, balanced, like I can face anything. Tears welled up in Lily's eyes as she nodded. Yes, she whispered. Of course, yes. A smile spread across William's face as he reached for her hand, holding it tightly. For the first time in years, he felt truly at peace. Together they turned back toward the city skyline, watching as fireworks lit up the night sky in celebration of another milestone. Over the following months, William and Lily continued to build on their successes. The community center expanded its reach, opening branches in underserved areas across the city. Daniel, too, found his footing, proving himself worthy of William's second chance. He took charge of a youth mentorship program, using his experiences to guide others facing similar struggles. As for William and Lily, their partnership blossomed into something beautiful. Though neither of them rushed into marriage or public declarations of love, their connection spoke volumes. They supported each other through thick and thin, navigating challenges with grace and determination. Their shared vision for a better future inspired everyone around them. Years later, when asked about their journey, Lily would simply say, "It all started with kindness, one small act that changed everything." And William would nod in agreement, knowing full well that sometimes the simplest gestures lead to the most incredible outcomes. In the end, their story wasn't just about wealth or power. It was about trust, courage, and the transformative power of human connection. Together, they proved that even in a world filled with uncertainty, compassion could light the way forward.